Okay, let's try to unpack this. I want you to imagine a single week, but not just any week, a week that is defined by, first, a Prince song from the mid-90s.
Okay, interesting start.
Then a street brawl involving a literal Nazi and a man from Somalia. And, to top it all off, a revolutionary long-acting injectable for HIV.
It sounds like a fever dream. I mean, or maybe a screenplay that an AI generated that just went completely off the rails.
Exactly. But that is the specific slice of reality we're looking at today.
And we're getting it from a pretty wild source.
We are.
Where?
To get there, we are diving into a radio show broadcast. It's called Past Week, Next Week, and we're listening to the episode from January 18, 2026.
Right. And just to set the scene for you, this is not like a polished major network news hour. This is a show with three very distinct personalities. You've got Chris, Paul, and someone they just call Boogie.
And there's usually a fourth guy, right? The texter.
Yeah, the texter, yeah. But he's gone from this recording. And you can kind of feel it. It adds to this chaotic, almost unmoored energy. They seem a bit thrown off.
It feels very unfiltered. But the mission here isn't just to recap a radio show. We want to use their conversation, which, I mean, it bounces between terrifying geopolitics and music trivia.
In seconds.
In seconds.
Yeah.
And use that to get a snapshot of what life actually feels like in January 2026. It's this mix of high-stakes tension, surprising science, and some really, really obscure rock and roll history.
It is a fascinating cultural artifact because it captures how the brain just processes information during a time of, real turmoil. You see them toggling between a potential annexation of Greenland and local gossip.
It's a survival mechanism.
It has to be. You can't stay in that doom and gloom zone forever. Eventually, you just have to talk about music.
So let's jump right into the deep end. The show kicks off with music, not just any music. Prince. Rock and roll is alive.
Which is such a specific choice. It's an incredibly specific choice. I mean, if you want to play Prince, you'd usually go for Purple Rain or 1999 or something. This is a bit of a deep cut from 1995. But they make it really clear they chose it for a reason.
A strategic reason.
Yeah.
They say the song lives in Minneapolis. And in their timeline, in 2026, Minneapolis is not just a city. It's a flashpoint. It's the center of the storm.
It is. The hosts use it as a, what do they call it, a tip of the cap to the resistors in the city. So you get this immediate sense of like an occupation, a city under siege. The music isn't just background noise.
It's a soundtrack.
It's the soundtrack to this active pushback. It sets a tone of defiance from the very first minute.
And speaking of that pushback, this is where the source gets jarring. They go from Prince directly into this story about a street altercation. A self-proclaimed Nazi got beaten up.
It's a brutal image, but the twist in the story, and this is the part the hosts really latch onto, is who saved him.
A black man from Somalia.
Yep, and this leads to one of the most bizarre, but also just incredibly human comedic misunderstandings.
Oh, this part. The hosts get stuck in this loop where they confuse Somalian, someone from Somalia, with sommelier, a wine expert.
It's a classic slip-up, right? But it reveals so much. They start talking about that movie, Uncorked.
The one about the guy who wants to be a sommelier instead of running the family BBQ joint.
Exactly. And for a solid minute, they are genuinely debating if the man who saved the Nazi was a wine expert.
I was listening, I was just thinking, are they serious? They're joking about the guy carrying on the family business of being a sommelier.
It's so absurd. But what strikes me is how fast they pivot from that joke to something much, much darker.
That's the pattern of this whole source. Humor is the shield. Because right after laughing about wine experts, they have to face the reality on the ground in Minneapolis, the heavy federal presence.
And they don't mince words. They call them masked desperados.
That phrasing is so important. It implies lawlessness, like bandits, not peacekeepers.
They also use the term paramilitary force, and they play this clip from Geraldo Rivera, who's reporting on it, and he captures the mood perfectly. He's criticizing a deployment of 2,000 federal agents.
And the numbers he cites are just staggering.
They are.
2,000 agents, this massive show of force, and they've only detained about 500 undocumented immigrants.
And the kicker, none of them, not one, were the worst of the worst criminals they promised the public they were after.
So it's a bait and switch. That's what Rivera calls it.
It is. It touches on that theme of, is this incompetence or is it just raw intimidation? The source says something like 70% of the American people opposed how it all went down.
And there's this one detail about the training that just, It terrified me. The source claims Isaiah training has been cut down to just 47 days.
To match the 47th presidency.
It's symbolism over substance.
Completely. And they mention a reporter who applied for a job, got an offer after a 6-minute interview.
A 6-minute interview.
Just think about that. You have a paramilitary force in a major American city. They're wearing masks, which the hosts point out implies dishonor, a lack of accountability, and they have less than 2 months of training.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Of course. The hosts say they're running up on women and children because they don't know how to distinguish an actual threat.
It's a picture of total instability. And then they zoom out to the top of the chain of command, to President Trump's interactions. They focus on this one moment at a Ford plant.
Right, the heckler. He yells, "Pedophile protector," at the president.
And the president's response isn't to ignore it or have security deal with it. He physically responds. He flips the guy off.
And the host's analysis is interesting. They argue it was that specific insult, pedophile protector, that pierced the armor. It wasn't just, a generic political jab. It hit a nerve about the Epstein files.
It suggests the composure's just cracking.
And then you get that image from the federal building post office. One of the hosts, Paul, says he walked in and saw Trump's mugshot hanging on the wall.
As the official presidential portrait.
I mean, wow. It's this powerful image of how norms have been completely inverted. The symbol of being booked by the law becomes the symbol of executive power.
And this tension isn't just domestic.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time on Greenland.
Or Trump land, as they call it.
Right.
Yeah, the source describes this escalating situation where European nations, Germany, Sweden, France, are sending troops there for joint exercises with Denmark.
Because the U.S. administration is pushing to annex the territory.
That's the implication. The theory is the president wants a physical legacy, an expansion of the U.S. called Trump land, and the rest of the world is mobilizing to stop it. It's a world on the brink.
It feels incredibly heavy, just wall-to-wall crisis.
Yeah.
But then, in true past week, next week fashion, they pivot.
Completely. Total whiplash.
We go from mass desperados to a segment called Chris's Week, which is surprisingly hopeful.
This is what we were talking about. Chris shares his experience traveling to Houston for training on a new drug called Cabenuva.
Okay, so break this down for us, because the hosts seem to think this is a really big deal.
It is a massive deal. Cabenuva represents a huge paradigm shift in HIV treatment. For decades, the standard has been a daily pill, every single day.
And Chris talks about the psychological weight of that.
Exactly. Taking that pill every morning is a daily reminder of your illness. It's a moment you have to confront your diagnosis every 24 hours. Cabenuva is a long-acting injectable.
So no more daily pill.
Right. Instead, patients get 2 injections once every 2 months.
Wow. So you go from a daily burden to, what, a bi-monthly maintenance task?
Precisely. Chris says it allows patients to live a normal life. You put an appointment in your calendar, you get the shot, and you move on. You don't have to worry about missing a dose or hiding pill bottles. It fundamentally changes the patient's relationship with the disease.
And you can hear the enthusiasm in his voice.
Yeah.
He talks about the sales force, the patient advocates in Houston. They're all genuinely passionate. This isn't just corporate speak for them.
It's a pocket of real progress and human connection in the middle of all this political chaos. It's a reminder that while the geopolitical world might be on fire, science is still moving forward. It's a very grounding moment in the broadcast.
It really is a beacon of light. And speaking of beacons, they also discuss a Martin Luther King Jr. luncheon in Kansas City.
And this part really highlights the local leadership dynamics. The keynote speaker was Hill Harper.
I know him. The actor from The Good Doctor and CSI. And why?
That's the one. And the hosts were really impressed. They contrast his message, which was all about kindness and progressive ideals, with the current political climate.
Where they say words like kindness are now politically coded.
Yeah, in their 2026 timeline, talking about kindness gets you labeled as woke biology. It just shows how polarized everything has become, even basic human decency.
And of course, there's the local gossip. They spot a few characters at this luncheon, like Mark Alford.
The former TV host turned congressman. And the hosts kind of lament his transformation. They remember him as this nice guy on the morning news, and now he's this controversial political hardliner.
And then there's Representative Job. This one cracked me up. He's a Democrat, but he shows up in a 10-gallon hat.
A full cowboy aesthetic. And the hosts are just baffled by it. Is it cosplay? Is it genuine? It just touches on how identity is, performed in politics.
Well, speaking of performance, that leads us perfectly into their next segment. They play a game called Who's That?
This was my favorite part, actually. I mean, from an analytical perspective, it seems silly. It's a game born from the host Boogie's insomnia, but it goes so deep.
The premise is simple. They play clips of famous singers doing background vocals or impressions on other people's songs, and they have to guess who it is just from the voice.
It's all about the sonic fingerprint, the idea that true artistry is just. It's recognizable even when it's trying to hide in the mix.
The examples are wild. They start with Michael Jackson.
Or maybe Tito. They aren't sure.
Right, but you can hear that Jackson family timbre. But then they play Sting.
Singing back up on a Dire Straits track, Money for Nothing. You hear that high, haunting vocal, I want my MTV. And once you know it's Sting, you can't unhear it. His voice just cuts through everything.
And Daryl Hall.
On Elvis Costello's The Only Flame in Town, you've got Costello's very distinct voice, and then suddenly this rich R&B soulfulness comes in. It's Daryl Hall, just elevating the track without taking it over.
But the one that really blew my mind was Mick Jagger.
On Carly Simon's You're So Vain.
Yes, hitting that high note in the chorus.
It's fascinating because Jagger is the ultimate frontman, right? He usually sucks all the oxygen out of the room, but here he's just lending in, serving the song. But you still know it's him. It's unmistakable.
And then Freddie Mercury.
Doing an Elvis Presley tribute on Crazy Little Thing Called Love. And the hosts note it's not just an impression, it's an interpretation. It's Freddie channeling Elvis, but he's still distinctly Freddie.
And finally, Chrissie Hynde.
On Brass in Pocket. And one of the hosts struggles with it. He thinks she might be foreign because of her phrasing. But it just highlights how certain voices define an entire era. You hear her, you instantly hear the late 70s.
So why does this matter? Why do three guys in a city under paramilitary occupation spend 20 minutes playing this game?
I think it grounds them. In a world where police reports are written by AI and politicians are performing these caricatures of themselves, the human voice, flawed, unique, undeniable, it's a tether to reality. It's a celebration of human identity.
That's a great point, because the line between synthetic and real gets incredibly blurry in their headline segment.
Oh, yeah. This is where the satire and the reality of 2026 just collide. They read these stories, and honestly, it is hard to tell which ones are jokes.
Like the one about the AI in policing.
Right. An AI generated a police report in Utah, and the report claimed an officer turned into a frog.
Wait, seriously, how does that even happen?
The officer's body cam picked up audio from a TV playing in the background. It was the Disney movie The Princess and the Frog. The AI just transcribed the movie dialogue as if it were the officer's field note.
That is hilarious, but also deeply dystopian.
It is. We're handing over authority to algorithms that can't tell the difference between a cartoon and a felony arrest. It's a legal nightmare.
And then there's the AI parenting story. The first baby born in 2026 was named Hudson Oakley Winkler.
A perfectly fine name.
Sure, but the parents didn't choose it. They asked ChatGPT to name their child.
It just signals this surrender of even the most personal decisions to technology. Why argue over a name when the machine can just decide? It's efficiency over sentiment.
And the geopolitical satire about the Venezuelan opposition leader giving Trump a Nobel Peace Prize.
In exchange for a Trump Bible and an honorary degree. It's absurd, but after hearing about Greenland, it feels uncomfortably plausible. It frames global diplomacy as just a swap meet.
And through all this, we get these little personal updates. Chris is getting ready for a cruise to the Bahamas.
And he's joking about Venezuelan oil and fentanyl in the water. Again, humor as a shield. And Boogie is dealing with the insomnia that inspired the whole music game. They're just people trying to function while the world burns.
So we've gone from the streets of Minneapolis to the hope of medical science and the joy of spotting Mick Jagger on a Carly Simon track. It's a lot to process.
It is. But if you synthesize it all, the episode is really about resilience. It's about how life just continues despite the masked desperados and the AI glitches.
There was that quote they mentioned from a movie, Song Blue.
Yes. It's about just keep moving forward, doing those things that bring you joy.
That seems to be the core message here. Whether it's the sales rep in Houston excited about an HIV drug, or these radio hosts obsessing over background vocals at 2 in the morning.
Precisely. They're finding their own pockets of meaning. They don't ignore the political situation, they confront it, but they refuse to let it consume their ability to laugh or appreciate a good song.
It's a survival strategy.
It is the only survival strategy in that kind of information overload. If you let it all in, without a filter, without those pockets of joy, you drown.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. The source talks about this overload, where news becomes a mix of officers turning into frogs and serious constitutional crises.
It really raises the question, when everything is breaking news, how do you decide what actually matters?
Exactly. So, amidst the noise of your own feed, what's your cabanuva? What is that one beacon of genuine progress or just joy that helps you filter out all the static?
Is it a medical breakthrough, a piece of music, or just a funny misunderstanding about a sommelier?
Find that thing and hold on to it. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us into the chaotic world of January 2026.
Keep moving forward.
See you next time.